Here is the app that we're going to be creating today. So as you can see, this is a Pomodoro app. And for those of you who don't know, a Pomodoro is a technique. Here it says, the Pomodoro Technique is a time management method developed by Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s. The technique uses a timer to break down work into intervals, traditionally 25 minutes in length, separated by short breaks. So there you have it. It's the Pomodoro Technique that can help you when you're working or studying and you just feel like you can't work anymore, or you're procrastinating, you're having trouble getting started. And so we're going to build this app where you can put in the amount of minutes that you are going to promise to yourself, I'm going to focus, say for 25 minutes. You're going to submit that time and it's going to count down for you. And I'm just going to show you, here we have a reset button that once you finish your application, did you hear that sound, guys? So it has this sound and then it gives you a congratulations method. Oh my gosh. It gives you a congratulations screen page with confetti, and then you can go take a short break and get back to your work. Maybe do another Pomodoro for another 25 minutes, say. So that is the application that we'll be working on today. Now I need a quick water break. In order to follow along with this tutorial, you will need the following. Ugh. That was necessary. And so is hitting that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. And for extra credit, going to my website, xtinapark.com, and signing up for the email list so that you can get information about my crowdfunding campaign when it's approaching September 21st, 2021. Okay, so here I am in my command line, and as always, I'm going to begin by cding into the folder that I want to have my project in. So first, I use ls to see what's in where I am basically. I'm going to go into my desktop folder. I'm going to go into box sync because I have learned from failed hard drives that you should have a cloud management system so that you don't lose all of your work like I did a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Okay, tutorials, of course, 03. By the way, you can use this star notation, and if it's the only thing that starts with that, that's why I like to number my files, then that's just a shortcut. And now I'm going to use the create react app command, and I'm going to call this Pomodoro v2. So you can see I have my answer key here, but I'm going to do this with you. Okay, sweet. So as you can see here, it's done running. We're ready to do this. So I'm going to ls again, and I'm going to see that this directory was created, which contains our application. So I'm going to cd into that, Pomodoro v2. Okay, so now we can see everything in here that was created for us by Create React App. And I'm first going to show you what has been created. You probably have seen this many times before, but just in case, I'll show you what this looks like on our local directory. Here we go. Here's our initial application. And now let's come back here. I will make this run again, but first I'm going to do code dot so that we can open up. Here, let me just show you what it is again. ls, we have all of this stuff in our application. I'm going to do code dot so that we can open it up and see it in VS Code. Okay, first place I'm going to want to go is app.js. Actually, maybe I'm going to remove some things from index, from the public folder. index.html, just because I like to do a little cleaning up when we get started. I don't like seeing this when I do inspect, even though these are helpful comments. And we can just change the title of this right here. We'll call it Pomodoro, all caps, just to be like that. And let's also change this content right here and say Pomodoro app to keep you focused and productive. And then I'm gonna just put this sunglasses smiley face. Great. So is there anything else we can change in here? I think that's fantastic. And I'm just going to leave, let me show you. I'm just gonna leave this here. I think for now it's fine. Let me save this because I don't know why this is still saying React app. Oh, because it's not running, right? Okay, so I'm gonna come back here and do yarn start again. Bellissimo, and now it says Pomodoro like we want, so that's great. Okay, so now let's get into this app.js and get rid of our learn React. We don't need any of this. I don't even need this div. I'm just gonna get rid of it all. Okay, save. Okay, I'll just put some of these babies and then it will stop throwing an error. We're gonna get rid of that logo. We don't need that. I am also going to be vicious and just get rid of this app.css. I don't want any of this either. We don't need it. And we're not going to be using CSS. So, okay. I'm going to press Control on my Mac and then tick, which is to the left of the 1. And this opens up the terminal for me. And look, I'm in the correct folder. That's fantastic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new directory using mkdir. And I'm going to name this directory components. Okay, now we can see it here. And we should also, ooh, I should have made that within src. No, okay, that's okay. I'm just going to drag this using the GUI and I'm going to put it into the src. Yes, I do. Yes, sir. Okay. And now I'm going to do what I should have done before and cd into the src, and then I'm going to cd into components. Let me move this into the screen. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'm in the components folder, and I'm going to touch, which is to make a bunch of files, and I'm going to, first of all, sir, why did this fail to compile? Oh, because I'm calling in the CSS that I just got rid of. No, I just forgot to save. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so here are the component names we have. App, already have taken care of. Here's our app.js right here. Beautiful. So we need a form, which is this. We need a timer, which is the pink. We need a block, which are each of these blue things. And we need finished, which is what's going to display when we're finished. All right, so form, timer, block, finished. No, here, down here, that's my dog. Form, timer, block, finished. And we're going to make each of these to be .jsx files, which is the JS file format corresponding to React components. Okay, and then we're going to see it magically populate over here. That's so beautiful. And then we're going to, remember earlier I said when I was telling you what dependencies to install, I said to install the ES7 package. So here I'm going to type in RAFCE. Exactly. See what it does? It auto fills in this block function, and it exports the block function. So that is absolutely beautiful, and we're just going to do that for each of these. This is my favorite thing to do because it's so satisfying to see the form fill itself out for you and put in the correct name. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So now for the app.js, first thing I'm going to do, well, first of all, I'm going to import React. That's always a good thing to do. Why is my dog so crazy? Can you guys hear him in the background? So now what we're going to do is we're going to call in not all of these components, but let's look at our plan. We have the form up top, and then we're also going to need the clock, and it depends. So if there's time left, we're going to show the clock. If we're into the negative time because we've already finished like counting down, then we're going to show finished. So we're going to need a little ternary action going on in here. So, okay, all of that is to say that we're going to import form, timer, and finished into our app. Remember, // is the current folder we're in, which is src, and then we're going to go into components and then form. And now I'm going to show you a little more shorthand magic. So let's see, we need form, timer, and finished. So I'm going to double click on this, and then with my keyboard, I'm going to press Control D. No, I'm going to press Command D. So you can see that it's highlighting both here and here. And I'm going to replace that with timer, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Command D, and then I'm going to replace that with finished. Beautiful. And notice that I don't put it in the file format because it automatically assumes that it's JS or JSX. So we are golden. And now, of course, it's telling us that we're not using these. So let's use them. I'm going to put the form up top like we had in our plan. And then I'm going to have to set state so that if the timer is not finished, then we'll show the timer. If the timer is finished, then we'll show the finished screen. So I call this variable time left. So time left, comma set time left. This is us using the useState hook, which I still have to call in, and I'll do that in a second. And then I'm gonna set, like at the beginning, we will say, is there time left? True. Because we want the timer to show. And then if time left becomes false, then we'll show this finished screen. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so first of all, we're gonna need to pull in the useState hook so that it won't yell at us. And then we are going to use our little ternary operator down here. So I'm going to say, why don't I get rid of this terminal so that we see our full beautiful page? Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to have my statement here. So I'm going to say, is time left? And if the answer is true, there is time left, then I'm going to, of course, show the timer. Okay? And else, so we're going to do this colon here, else we're going to show the finished component. Okay, now, okay, we're still getting this notification with the kind of gray font that set time left is not being used. So let's think about what state variables we have to pass to form, timer, and finished. And a hint, remember from earlier we talked about the other state variable that we're going to need, which is paused. So let's just do that real quick. Const is paused and set is paused. And if it's not clear why we need this yet, I will explain that as we continue through this tutorial. So I'm going to start is paused, of course, as true, because when we start the application, we want it to start just saying 0, 0, 0, 0. So that will make more sense in a minute. Ooh, I am such a silly goose. I'm sorry. Time left should not be a Boolean variable. It's actually the time left. And I'm going to set that starting off equal to 0. So when somebody inputs into this form, like 25 minutes, we're going to convert that into milliseconds, and that's going to become our new time left. Okay. So the form is going to modify time left, because whenever the user puts like 25 into the form, they're modifying time left. So we're going to pass it the function to do that. And remember, when you pass in a function, you give it a name, and you pass in the function with curly brackets. Okay. Now for timer, the timer is of course going to need the actual time because it's going to display that. It's going to pass the minutes and seconds into the blocks. And also, because the timer contains this reset button, it's going to modify time left and is paused. So we're going to be passing a lot in here. So first of all, it needs time left is equal to time left. And then it also needs to set time left. And it needs to set is paused. Beautiful. And of course, finished is going to do the same thing, except it doesn't need time left. It just needs set time left and set is paused. Okay. And you notice that we don't yet use is paused. Let me think about this. Okay. The form, no. The timer is going to need is paused because that's going to determine whether the timer continues to tick down, because it's going to be in charge of that functionality. That's where we're going to use useRef and useEffect, etc. Or whether it should clear the current, which it will do if is paused is set to true. So let's pass that baby on in here. Is paused is equal to is paused. Alrighty. Let me just bring that down so we can see it all on this page. That is good for here. Now, why don't we just put the name of each of these here so that you can see what's showing up on the page as we begin, just so we can see. Why did I make this lowercase and the other one all caps? I don't know. Just so we can see what's going on. I always like to test as I'm going. Remember that you have to save each of these pages, so I'm pressing Command S on my Mac so that we can see it updated on our local host. Okay, so nothing is showing up right now. Let's figure out why that's the case. Oh, here it is. Okay, I just pressed refresh and I have form here and finished. So that is not what should be going on. So we must have done the ternary operator wrong. So we need the statement to be, is time left less than 0? And if it is less than 0, then we are finished. Excusez-moi. And if it's not less than 0, then we'll show the timer. So if it's greater than or equal to 0, we'll show the timer. So now let's look here, and we have the timer component showing up on the DOM. Beautiful. That's how we want it to work. Okay, so now let's do the form first, because that's the first thing that's going to show up on the page. So let's actually make this beautiful. First of all, I'm going to do div align is equal to center. And then we're going to make this baby into an actual form. And how are we going to do a form? Well, of course, we're going to use React hook form, useForm hook. So this is one of those times that I need to copy paste. So first of all, just see that it's nice and centered here. That's our bird clock. Fantastic. Okay. Now let's go to my little copy paste section. Here we go. I'm going to import useForm at the top. That's the first thing. Now let's go to our information on useForm. Let's just start with a form tag as we do. And then within this form, we're going to put an input tag, and I will be changing these later with styled components, but for now, let's just check it out. And we're gonna have one input type is equal to number, of course. And if this is working, then it should have these little up and down next to it. Super cute. And then we're also gonna have input type is equal to, I forget if I call this, I think it's submit, and that's a submit button. Beautiful. And then in front of that, we're going to want some sort of text. Let's just make it a p tag for now. And then we're going to put minutes. And we're going to edit that later using styled components. Like, we're not going to want it on top, we're going to want it to the side. And that has to do with the div. Actually, why don't I do that right now? That's fine. We're just going to do these things as we go. So we want a div that has display flex components. So I'm going to, instead of having a div, I'm going to create a component called container, and then I'm going to do display flex so that minutes lines up next to this input, which lines up next to the submit button. So let's do that real quick. So of course, when we use styled components, we have to import styled from styled components. And you should have downloaded this. And then we're going to do const container is equal to styled backtick. Yes, you can create another file for this, but when it's just a very small pieces of code, I like to keep everything in one file. It's personal preference. Go ahead and roast me in the comment sections if I'm wrong about this one. I can always learn more. Okay, so let's copy from my little old PowerPoint here the content that goes in here. Beautiful. And then we should see messages. Excuse me, what is going on? Cannot create styled component for component. Interesting. Oh my goodness, I forgot to put down what type of thing it is. So, okay, of course this is going to be a div. Now it's gonna work. But will it? I press Command Save and then refresh, and the minutes is still on top. What is going on, you guys? Okay, right, because I haven't actually replaced this div, you silly goose. And we have justify content center here, so I don't need that anymore. And now, now it is all on the same line. Let's just inspect this to see what's going on. And then we're gonna add some padding and margin as we are wont to do so that it can make sense. So let's, oh my goodness. Clearly, yes, it's a body, not the head. And let's check this out. Let's get on in here. Okay. We have, okay, look at all of this padding we have around this p tag. That's immense. And then we have some weirdness going on here as well. Interesting. Okay, so the form, okay, obviously it's padded to be like the same size as this, but this has so much padding. So let's get rid of the padding on the top and bottom of the p tag, and we're just going to give it another name entirely. So I'm going to call this const text is equal to style.p, and I'm going to get rid of this p tag, and then we're going to do padding, okay, and then on the top and bottom we want it to be 0px, and on the left and right for now we can make it 0px, we might change that later. Gotta press save, Command S. Still nothing, man. Okay, let's see what I did wrong. So it's okay, was that margin actually? There we go. Okay, look, now it's all on the same line. That is beautiful. And now, you know what, we probably will want to give them a little padding, but you know what I just realized we're missing is the header for this whole thing. So let's go back to app.js, and we're also going to import styled components. Of course, I'm just going to copy this on over because I like to type as little as possible. And let us create a h1 at the top, and we're going to give it so much padding so that it can look beautiful. Okay, so this is also, yeah, that's fine that it's going to be a div. It could be an h1, it doesn't really matter. Or I'll call it title. Beautiful. And then I'll just put this in here. Squeeze you, there we go. And it will say Pomodoro app. And let's give this, we don't need this to be display flex actually, but justify content center would be nice. And let's make this text size really big. So I want font size to be, let's see how big this is, 100 pixels. Ooh, mama. Okay, that's too big. Let's do maybe 50 pixels. That's better. And I have justify content center here, so why isn't it being centered? And actually we can pull these back using shift tab. I don't know why it's so far out like that. So just text align, sure. There we go. That works. And we want to, of course, add padding on the top and bottom. So this doesn't even matter. Let's just do padding on the top and bottom. Let's also do 50 pixels. And then on the left and right, it doesn't matter. We can check what that looks like in our inspect. I love that. And let's give it our beautiful pink background color. So background is pink because it's going to be really relaxing. Exactly. And then the text, I would like the color of the text to be smoky, or let's see, is it called white smoke? Yes, I love that. Okay. And then I want to give it a little bit of shadow just so it has that extra touch. So this is one of the ones that I can't remember, so I just copied it down here. Okay, and there we have our title. And of course, when you're following along by yourself, feel free to jazz this up. And if you do jazz it up, then send me a screenshot on Twitter. That would be so cool. If you follow along and you change this, yeah, tweet at me. This is my Twitter. Okay. And I'm just going to, I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but I'm going to do margin, bottom, excuse you, lady, bottom. And let's set this to 20 pixels. There we go. I think that is nicer. And then we can make these kind of a larger font, but overall, that's good. Okay, so back to our form. And we're going to do no validate because we don't want the automatic validation. We're going to do validation using useForm. And let's see what else. Let's see what I'm missing. So yeah, we're going to want an ID. We're going to want an on submit. I'll get to that later though. For now, why don't I use the useForm hook to define these 3 different variables. And I've explained this in a previous video, but I think it makes sense to explain it again here. So within the form, we're using useForm now, and we're creating these 3 variables: register, which keeps track of everything that we put into our input type. So here I have type is equal to number, and I can also put in a ref is equal to register, so this will show that it's being used now. What handle submit does, well, first let me explain this. So we're going to give register, we're going to tell it what we want our input to look like. So we already have our input as a number, and we're going to tell register that we want our input basically to be between 0 or very close to 0 and say 100, because I don't think it makes sense to work much more than 100 minutes in succession. So I guess we're going to impose that limit on our user, but you don't have to. So register is going to keep track of whatever is put into this input by the user, and it's going to create errors as a result of that. So basically, if there are errors, then when we press this submit button, the handle submit will only run if there are no errors. Okay? So we are going to want an on submit function, as we do. Let's take care, okay, so you can see I have the ref is equal to register, and here's what we do. We pass into the register function a JSON element, so it's these brackets, and then you have your definition, and then you have another JSON element, so we've got a little bit of inception going on here, which has the value for either required or min or max, or there could be a bunch of other sort of requirements depending on what type of input you have. And then we also are passing in a message that will be our error message if any of these rules are broken. So I'm just going to copy this on over. Excuse me. So here within register, it is a function, and let me spread this out so that it's more beautiful. That's fine. You know what? Actually, this doesn't even need 2 tags. It can just be a closing tag itself. And within the register function, we're going to put another JSON file. So I use these curly brackets, and then I have my different rules. So I have, let's see, why is this throwing me an error right now? Okay, because I made that change in PowerPoint, Okay, that's dangerous. That's interesting to know. I made that change in PowerPoint, so it didn't like the quotation mark sign that I used. Okay, please enter the number of minutes that you would like to study for. It's going to be our error message if they don't input anything and they just press submit. Okay, so look at these nice error messages that say please, and they would say thank you if they could. But then they wouldn't be an error message. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So then you have this minimum. You're saying the minimum number of minutes that they can put in is 0.01. And again, I set such a low limit so that it's easier to do testing and we can see if our finished page is working. And then we have this nice error message that says, please enter a number between 0.01 and 100. And then remember, all of this is on the same line. So what we want is beneath the form is to show the error messages if they exist. So here's what we're going to do. And remember, errors are populated on submit, so nothing will show until submit is pressed. And then beneath that, let me explain to you how this piece of code works. So this and sign here means if this is true, if and only if this is true, which is, this is a Boolean statement. So if errors.minutes exists, is true, then show this error message. And I just put it in a p tag because I'm lazy, but you can make that more beautiful using styled components if you like, or CSS, whatever. It is the world is your oyster. So let's see how this looks so far. So let's just put in something, let's put in a negative number to be goofy, and then we'll press submit. Oh, it actually took that. That's no good. We don't want a negative number. So let's see what's going on there. What did I miss? What did I miss? Well, we don't have a handle submit function, so that could be part of it. The weird thing is, I think with the register function, it should print out an error, so that is a little confusing to me. But why don't we take care of the handle submit and see if that fixes this for us? Okay, so first of all, why don't I give these different things IDs? So I'm going to give the form an ID of Pomodoro form, and I'm going to give the input an ID of minutes input. Oh, that's why. Oh my goodness, because I'm sorry, I neglected to mention this. So, okay, errors.minutes, minutes is being populated because this input has a name of minutes, and I did not give my input a name. So once I put this name in here, then it should work. So let's check that out. You have type is equal to number, and then we have name is equal to minutes. And of course, again, it does not like the quotations that I used. And then down here, because I populated it in PowerPoint, which was very silly of me. Okay, beautiful. Now it should give us an error message at the very least, even if it accepts the -5 when we press submit. Interesting. Did I not save? What's going on here? -5. Okay, well, that is just so bizarre. So why don't we at least keep it from doing the default setting of clearing the form if it's incorrect. So we're going to need to define an onSubmit function. We'll do that above. And within our form, we are going to this is a bit confusing because we haven't done any of this yet. Handle submit is being used now. We're passing that into the onSubmit function for the form. Let's see, close that. And then we're also going to give an ID is equal to Pomodoro form. Beautiful. And we're going to need to create our onSubmit function. So why don't we do that up here? So we can say const onSubmit. No ma'am. Just onSubmit is equal to, we're going to make this into a function. And we'll fill that in later. But let's see if it throws us an error message. That's good. And oh, we're going to want to send the data into this because we'll use the data. So the most basic thing we can do is console.log data. So let's see if it's actually taking in this -5. That makes me unhappy, but okay, here's our error message finally. It's skewed, it's off to the right. Isn't that weird? It's off to the right. Okay, because it's within the container. So maybe we want to take it out of the container because it's like pushing these against each other. That is very weird. Okay, so let's take this out of the container. We'll just put it down here. Why does it not like that? Oh, it's because you need to use fragments. And remember, whenever we have a return statement, we need to pass just one chunk. So you can use these empty brackets, which is a fragment, to satisfy that requirement. And let me hit save. And of course, we're going to want to center this. So let's just put it within a div. Okay, great. Okay, so now it's not accepting that when we press submit. But let's try pressing submit for 5 minutes. It should be accepting that. Let's look at our console. So we're logging the data, which is this JSON object that has minutes, and it says 5 minutes here. Or let's change it to be 3 minutes. So that's coming out. And I'm just going to, instead of console.log the data up here, I'm going to console.log data.minutes. So it's just going to show us 3 or 9 or 45, whatever. Oops. Okay, so far so good. So also on submit, we're going to want to, I just think this is a nice touch if you clear this input when the submit is successful. So the way that we're going to do that is using Ajax. So that's one of these lines of codes that I just don't remember, and I have it over here. Okay, pulling in this Ajax. So we'll put the Ajax command here. And now we're going to use it. So again, I'm not remembering this, so I just wrote it down here. So this is going to be in our on submit. Okay, and let's see if that works. That's fine. Okay, now it gets rid of it once we press submit, if we do successful submit. And if we don't, then it will never reach that function because of our useForm handle submit, which only calls on submit being passed into handle submit, on submit of the form, if you're following. This only runs the passed in function if there are no errors. So that works beautifully. Now what we're going to want to do is set up the timer so that we can start to play with that, and then we'll come back to editing state from within the form. But I think it makes more sense once we can see the timer on the DOM. So let's just put in something correct, like 5, submit. Beautiful. Okay, now we're in the timer, and the timer is going to call on 2 blocks. So let's do that first. Let's import the block. And it's going to be in the same components folder, so we can just write from // and then here we're going to show the block, and we're going to pass into it the time and whether it's minutes or seconds, but we'll do that in just a second. So yeah, block is showing block right now, so we should just see block on the screen if it doesn't throw us an error. Big F. Okay, let's see what's going wrong. It can't resolve /. Oh, I need to, of course, put the file name. That was silly. So import timer, import block from /block. Okay. I just like using semicolons after my imports. I know it's not necessary, but okay, here we go. We have block. And just like we did up here, we're going to have to put this into styling that allows it all to be on the same line. And we use that, we do that using what we did earlier, which was display flex. So let's just copy this on over. And again, because we're using container in multiple files, yes, we could have imported that. We could have done a separate styling file, but I just chose not to do that for simplicity this time. But as your program gets larger and larger, that's something you might consider doing. And I have done that in one of my previous tutorials, so I will put a link to that above in the iTag, a tutorial where I made a separate styling file. Okay, so here we're going to have the container, which has display flex and justify content center. Styled is not defined, of course. You need to import styled from styled components. And now we have it right here. So I think we're also going to want some margin on the top and bottom, or just the top really, because we want it to be separated from minutes. So I'll do, this was 20px. I know it was margin from the Pomodoro app heading. So I'll make this component, this container, have margin top of 20px as well. And that just looks cleaner. And then of course, instead of printing out block in either of these locations, we're going to want to show the minutes and seconds. So let's tee that up. So first of all, we're going to want block and this colon to have the same styling as one another. So let's just give that some sort of const styling called text maybe. That sounds good. Is equal to style.h1. Sounds nice. And for now, let's just do font size 40px. Okay, let's wrap this around my colon. And that's a nice, see, it's actually in between these two things. It's just significantly bigger. So then within block, first of all, we have already from app, we have passed time left to the timer. So remember, time left is initiated as 0. So from the timer, what we want to do is convert time left from seconds to minutes and seconds. So we're going to do that using math.floor. So remember, we're inputting the time into the form in minutes. So think of time left as being in minutes. And we want that in minutes and seconds because that's how our timer displays on the DOM. So let's have minutes is equal to, let's actually start with seconds. Let's do const. Actually, I'm going to make them let because they're going to be changing. Let seconds is equal to time left times 60 because we input time left in minutes, multiply by 60 to get seconds. And then we're going to let minutes is equal to time left times 60. Time left is in minutes. So here's the deal. Yes, seconds is equal to time left times 60, but we only want the seconds after accounting for the minutes. So what we're going to do is have minutes is equal to math.floor time left divided by 60. And we're going to store time left in terms of seconds. Okay, so when we input something into the form, we're going to set time left equal to whatever was inputted times 60. So just reminder, because we need to be clear with ourselves. Time left is in seconds. Okay, so we're pulling in time left. And then seconds is going to be math.floor time of time left, which is in seconds, minus 60 times minutes. Beautiful. And now we're going to pass these in as we're going to say what type of parameter we're passing in, which is going to be a string variable. So we're going to pass in minutes first, and then we're going to pass the number is equal to, put in the curly brackets, minutes. And then we're going to do the same thing on this other block, except we're going to have param is equal to seconds, and number is equal to seconds. And now you'll see that seconds is being used here. Okay. So now let's go into block and actually define what this looks like. So we do want the parameter to be beneath the number. So let's actually just, first of all, let's pull in our variables. So we have, I'm not sure I need to do that. Wait, let me see. H1, and then the number that's passed in. And then beneath that number, we need the param. Right now, I think this is going to show us nothing because I think I need exactly. Time left is not defined. Number param is not defined. That's because you literally have to do this. Which was passed in first? From timer, it was param first and then minutes. So within block, we need param, and then number. That's what it should be called. And then also we're passing time left into timer. So let's see the order that we did that in. We have time left and then set time left. I'm just going to copy all of this. Let me show you what it looks like coming in here. This is for reference, so we want it actually all within one bracket. Okay, and now it should stop throwing us an error. We're not using them all yet, but time left is not defined. It should be defined. Let's see. app.js, time left is equal to useState 0. So that doesn't really make sense. Okay, I just had to hit refresh. Let's see, this looks kind of good, except we need each of these elements to be centered. But other than that, we might want to make the font a little bit bigger. Yeah, let's make the top part size 40. So let's go to timer, and we have this text element that we used for the colon here. And then let's go into block, and we will, again, we have to import styled from styled components exactly. Again, I don't know why I do this. I just like having the semicolons there. And let's make this text so that it can be 40px. That looks nicer. And then what I'd also like to do is center each of these elements. So we'll just do align is equal to center. And that looks great. That's exactly what we want our app to look like. Except maybe we'll make these a little bigger. But other than that, we just have to worry about functionality now. And I'd like to put some space between each of these as well. By the way, does it look like there's like too much space between these now? Let's just look at that. Okay. You know, I don't think it actually needs that margin top. So let's get rid of the margin top here. So this is within the timer. We'll just get rid of that line. Great. Okay. Now that we can see this on the DOM, by the way, why don't we, just to test that our minutes and seconds are working, let's go to app.js and start it as 60 minutes. This is we're going to be passing in the number of minutes. So, okay, let's make it 20 minutes. Oh, it's coming in as seconds. So that's not what we want. No, that's fine. Because what we're going to do basically is we're going to input 20 minutes, and then we're going to multiply by that by 60 to get time left. So now it's working. It's coming in as 20 minutes and 0 seconds. Or let's say we had 20 times 60 plus 3, and that should be 20 minutes and 3 seconds. Perfect. So this is working exactly as we would like. And now I'm going to just set that to 0 again. And now, why don't we do the functionality of having the input change time left. So remember, timer was passed in time left as well as set time left. So let's use set time left to change the input to be whatever the user enters into the form. Excuse me. We have the form here, and we have set time left being passed into the form. So let's first of all take it in. You know what's yeah, that's perfect. So now we have set time left, and on submit, remember this function will only run if we put in valid data thanks to the useForm hook. So I'm going to use set time left, and then I'm going to put in, remember, we're going to want this, remember, where is our obnoxious comment that I put earlier? Time left is in seconds. So the user is entering minutes, so we're going to set time left to data.minutes times 60. Okay, and we should see this working now. So let's put in 4 minutes, and we'll see 4 minutes come up here. Let's put in 4.5 minutes, and we'll see 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Beautiful. And even if we put in something ridiculous, because of our math.floor command, it will round it down. So let's put in like this, and it turns out that's almost 14 seconds. Great. Okay, so that's working out great. Now, of course, we want, as soon as we press the submit button, we want this to start ticking down. Every second, we want it to move down. So we are going to handle that functionality within the timer, of course. So this is where we use all of the fancy, we're going to pull in from React, useEffect, and useRef. Okay, so I'm going to need to go to my PowerPoint to use this as a reference. So look, this example that Ceci Garcia used is also a timer. So that's pretty cool. So why don't we do what she does here, and we're going to start by making a interval ref using the useRef, okay? And then we're going to use useEffect to update our interval ref. See, she updates this ID variable, and then she sets interval ref to .current, which is what useRef does. It allows you to create a mutable object which has a current that you can turn off, basically, which we are going, this is the clear interval, clears that current. It took me working with this for a little bit to understand it. So hopefully that explanation helps you to understand it if you haven't used this before. Otherwise, go check out Ceci's Medium article, which I put here, and I'm gonna upload this onto my GitHub. Okay, and let's see. We're gonna use useEffect now. So we're gonna pass in a function. Let's do that here. Just put the semicolon after that to start with, and then I put the function on the inside, and then we're going to put something inside of that function. And we're also going to pass this second parameter here. Look, I highlighted another part of Ceci's article over here, which I found very useful. So React will only call the effect when any value of the so this is if you pass as the second param an array, then if you pass an array with a variable in it, which we will do later in this tutorial, then this will only run when something in that array has changed. But right now we're passing in 1000 milliseconds. So this is going to run every 1000 milliseconds, which is every 1 second, which is exactly what we want. So let's pass that in as our second argument right here, 1000. Great. And again, we're going to want to update this interval ref, just like she does here. So let's use the exact same formatting that she does. So we're going to create this const ID, and then we're going to update our interval ref outside of the useEffect. And then for within our useEffect, we will also do a component unmounted, whatever that used to be called. For whenever this component is taken off of the DOM, we're also going to want to clear the interval. So I'll just do that real quick. This should still be within the useEffect. So what is going on here? Okay. Set interval takes 1000 milliseconds as the second argument. Excuse me, I made a mistake on that one. And then within our useEffect, so this is component did unmount, and we're going to do clear the current interval using clear interval ref.current. Okay, beautiful. I guess it doesn't need those brackets, it's fine. And within here, we're actually going to want to update time left. So remember, because this is a state variable, we don't just reset time left. What we do is we use the function that we declared using the useState hook, and we set time left to the current value of the state variable, which we're keeping in seconds, -1. All right, let me show you how this works so far. Now we haven't used isPaused yet, and I'll show you how that creates a problem too. So here we go, it's already counting down, and I'm just going to show you why this is a problem. So, because you may think it's working beautifully right now, and in order to show you how it's a problem, I actually need the reset button going on already. So let me show you. It's nice that that's working in the background. Okay. And then once that counts all the way down, which will happen in 3 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll see that this will be removed from the DOM, and then we should see a screen that says just finished over to the side, because we can make this div align equal center so that it shows up in the center. That's fine. So we'll just let that play in the background while we tweak around a little bit. So now what we're going to do is to add the reset button here. So of course we need our fragment so that we can return the button as well. And we also need some styling for our button. So let's do style.button. That's fine. And we'll call this capital button. And we want this to say reset. So and excuse me, here's what that looks like right now. Let's put this within a align center. Actually, you know what? Do I even want to style that or just leave it the way it is? To me, that's kind of fine right now. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that as it is. It says reset. That's good for me. So then it's kind of silly to create my own component. Maybe I'll just make it a little, the font size to be like 20 pixels, which might be what it is already, but let's see. Okay, it's a little bit bigger now. That looks nicer. So I'll have to update this too so that also looks a little bit nicer. And what we want to happen on reset is we're going to give this button a onClick function is equal to, put this in colon, in the curly brackets, and then we'll make this into a function. Excuse me, I need the arrow function there. And then on click, we want to set time left is equal to 0. So that's what reset looks like for us. And I'm going to show you how this becomes a problem. So we're 51 seconds away. Oh well, I'll just show you. When I click reset, it should go to 0 and it should stop at 0. But what's going to happen due to our useEffect here, due to what we have going on within this set interval function, we have set time left decreasing the number of seconds by 1 every time, right? And then that's being converted into minutes and seconds, and it's being updated on the DOM every second. And what we want to happen is for it to, when we hit reset, we want it to be fixed at 0 minutes and 0 seconds, like we see when we first open the application. Okay, check it out. Here it says finished. That's awesome. But what's going to happen when we hit reset, and I'll show you in a second, is that it's going to count down to finished again. So here, let me put in 3 minutes, submit, and then I'm going to press reset. It goes to 0, and then it keeps counting down. And what we want is for the reset button to keep it at 0 instead of having it count down and go to finished when we reset. That doesn't make sense. So that's when we use the is paused. So what we're going to do is we're going to, again, use our favorite ternary operator, and we're going to say is paused, question mark, and if is paused is true, then we will not do that. If is paused is true, then we will clear the interval. And if is paused is not true, then we will do what we do previously. And then we're going to want to set is paused to true when this reset button is clicked. So here is our function on click, and we have, let me just do that. We have set time left to 0, and then we're going to set is paused to true. And if you recall, when we start off at the very beginning, we've used useState to initiate is paused as true, which is good, but in order to allow this timer to count down ever, what we want to happen is that when the form is submitted and it's submitted correctly, so it gets to this onSubmit function, we want to set is paused to false so that it will indeed count down. So let's see how this works now. If it doesn't throw us an error, oh my goodness, I have to pull this into form. Okay, set time left, and let's see if we pass it in at all to the form. No, so we need to pass in set is paused as well. And then go to the form, pass in set is paused, and now it should work. So let's put in 3 minutes. It will count down because we pressed submit and we unpaused, and then let's press reset, and then it won't count down anymore because it's paused. So that's exactly how we want it to work. So just so I don't, that's our clock again. Okay, so just so that I don't avoid doing this forever, I'm going to quickly fix the styling here just so that it's maybe 20px like the reset button is. So that is on the form. It will make the text font size 20px, and we'll make another const capital I input is equal to style.input, and we'll also make the font size 20px, and then we'll change this down here. And remember to adjust the closing tags as well if you use closing tags, but I'm not sure why I even did that here. So I'm just going to make that one input tag, which is a closing tag. And now it's a bigger font. And I'd also like for there to be margin on the right of minutes, and on the, this could use some, the input tag could use padding as well. So let's do input, let's do padding 5 pixels. That looks better. Then we're going to want margin on the top and bottom of minutes and on the left and right. So for the text, let's do, like I said, we might change this. So we want, let's try 5 pixels on the top and bottom. That, now these are aligned. And then on the left and right, let's also do 5 pixels. And then I want 5 pixels on the left and right of this, and 5 pixels on the left and right of submit. So for this text, we're going to do, for the input tag, we're going to do margin top and bottom. We want that equal to 0, and then left and right 5px. Okay, so now there's spacing between each of them. I just think that looks a little cleaner, but you are free to do what you like. That looks good. Okay, so if you make this more beautiful as you're following along, again, send me a screenshot on Twitter because I'd love to see it. Okay, so now the only thing that we have left to do is our finished page. I'm pretty sure, like, now this is going to go to finished, and we just need to make this beautiful, and then I think we're pretty good. So let's go to the finished page, and this is a thing that I knew I would forget, which is how to define the width. Here we go. So, and the reason we need this is because our confetti is going to need the width. So within our finished function, let's get the width of our inner window of our viewer, and let's import our confetti. I have that in here too. Import confetti. Oh, and we're also going to use a sound. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. That's right. Why do you hate on me in my PowerPoint? Okay. So, yes, instead of this, we're going to use our confetti component that we imported from react-confetti, and we're going to give it the width that we got from our window size here, in curly brackets, of course, and we can close that out. And we should actually see this right now. See, there's our confetti. Isn't that beautiful? And we're going to want to print out a message that says congratulations, and we'll put a reset button underneath that, identical to the button that we used for our timer, and it's going to have identical functionality as well. And let's see, we're also going to again use useEffect. So I'm going to pull useEffect in from React, and the way we're going to use useEffect here, excuse me, I'm just going to copy this, paste it down here, and then again do an arrow function. And what I'm going to do inside of this arrow function is I want useEffect, I'm going to pass in as a second argument a sound. So this is going to make sense once I import the sound. So I have to import this sound object, and actually let me open that up right now. Oh, I put it here. Okay. So I want it to be in my SRC, and I think I'll just keep it in my SRC. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now my src folder has a component called sound, and it has this mp3 file within it. So let me import that. Da-da, I called it da-da, because that's kind of the sound that it makes. From dot, so right now we're in components here, but we want to be in src, so we need to go back, which is dot, and then we can go to sound, of course, and within sound we're going to pull in da-da dot mp3. That is correct, no? Exactly. Okay, and then once we have that, we are going to use the useSound hook to define playing that sound. So I put that here as well. So we're going to call this useSound effect play, like play the sound. And let me do that here. And we're going to pass in the object name of our sound, which we pulled in from this mp3 file, and give it a volume within a JSON format. So characteristic is volume, and it's going to be 0.25. And then we're going to pass this play into useEffect. So this is going to occur once, and it will only occur again if play is modified. So if we modify it to a different sound or anything like that, which we won't do. So essentially this useEffect function will only be played once when finished component comes onto the screen. Each time the finished component is re-rendered onto the screen, which is exactly what we want. And here I'm just going to call the play function, and there it is. It played once. So let's show this functionality again. So we have 5, 4, 3. Perfect! So that is our finished screen. Now let's just put in the congratulations message. So did we have a text that we liked previously, or should I just be lazy and do an h1 tag? Guys, I'm gonna do an h1 tag and see how that looks. Congratulations, you finished your Pomodoro. Go ahead and stretch your legs and take a break. There we go. So the component loaded again, and so we heard that sound. Yeah, I actually think that this h1 tag is fine for our purposes. What would be kind of nice is having a little bit of margin on the left and right of this tag. So, fine. I'll go ahead and add in some margin. So I'll just call this, I'll import styled again, and I'll do a text tag like this. So great, excuse me. And then I'm just going to, my goodness, margin on the top and bottom is 0px, that's fine. And then on the left and right, I would like it to be equal to 20px. Yeah, every time I save a change here, it re-renders on the DOM, and so it's making that sound. Why don't I just mute my computer for a moment? And let's make this into a text tag. That looks better. And actually, you know what? We should do margin on the top as well. So let's just do 20px all around. Why did my mute not work? Okay. Beautiful. And then let's put the reset button here. So we had the reset button in our timer, and it's going to have the exact same functionality. copied too much. I don't need this div align equals center because I already have it. And then let's see, we need to pull these functions in. I know I already passed it in app.js to form. We passed set time left and set is to finished. Yeah, set time left and set is paused. So let's pull these babies in, and I know it's exactly the same code as we have right here. And why is it not working? It says button is I forgot see, you know what, this is why it would actually be good to just have a common styling page, but I was lazy, so I apologize to you guys. And I'm just going to copy that again from form. So anytime you're copying a lot around, so this was in the timer, around your different files, then that's when it's probably good to consolidate some of your code and have it be imported from a common file. So I should definitely take my own advice. Okay, so let's just put in a very quick congratulations. Okay, I muted my computer, but the sound did show, and then let's reset. And now it resets. And we can put in 3 minutes, you know, the counting, that's working perfectly. Let's reset, and then it resets. So guys, I think we did a beautiful thing. There you go.